Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our Finance and Community College session. I hope you were able to attend the College Affordability session and get some really good nuggets. My name is Liz Kufor, and I'm the Southern Program Coordinator for Young Invincibles. I, along with Victoria from Breakthrough, who will later introduce herself, will be helping to facilitate this session. Let's go ahead and see what our session goals are for today. By the end of the session, we're hoping that you'll be able to walk away with a better understanding of how community colleges are funded in Texas, as well as some of the issues within our current funding system. From there, we're hoping that our council members can shed some light on the high costs and hidden costs associated with successfully completing college and ensuring academic success. And then finally, they'll also discuss some stigmas surrounding community college and how to dispel those. We're going to jump into our agenda for today. We're going to have a brief introduction into who the council members are. From there, Victoria from Breakthrough will lead into our Community College 101 by reviewing how community colleges are currently financed. After that, we're going to have our lovely Esther on the SAC talk about who the commission is, who are they, what their goals are. And then our council members will also introduce the Student Advisory Council, so some other issues when it comes to funding community college and attending community college. We will finally end with a Q&A panel where we'll hear from our council members directly on their personal experiences and their thoughts on various issues. And then I'll come back to talk about what's next and how you can stay better connected with the council. With that being said, I'm going to pass it on to Daisy to go ahead and introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Daisy Don Juan. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I am currently a student at Dallas College. I am in the paralegal program, and I plan to transfer to SMU to become a lawyer.
From Tyler Junior College in East Texas, and I'm going to SFA in the fall for philosophy, and I'm an SAC council member.
Hi, my name is Talia Christian. I'm currently within the Alamo Colleges District at Northeast Lakeview College. I'll be graduating in May, transferring to Texas Christian University to study psychology and philosophy on a pre-med track.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Esther Shamwe, and I'm from Austin Community College, and I am a future nurse.
Hello, everybody. My name is LaChristy Davis. I am a Dallas College alumna, currently attending the University of Texas at Arlington, studying public health. And I actually graduate next month to continue my studies to become a director of minority health and health equity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. As you can see, we have future lawyers, nurses, and doctors on here, so I'm so excited. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Victoria to take us into the Finance and Community College session.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Uriostegui. I'm a student coordinator with Texas PACE, and I'm also part of the Breakthrough Central Texas team. So before I pass it on to our amazing council members to lead this session, I wanted to briefly explain the funding formula for Texas community colleges. Next slide. Gotcha. So in this slide, you'll see an image of a stool, and that's how you can think about the funding formula. It's composed of local property taxes, state funding, and tuition. Next slide. All right. And in this slide, I'll explain the state appropriations. So you see core operations is the amount every community college gets regardless. So that'll be $1.4 million. Then you'll see contact hours, which is money based on enrollment hours. And here you'll find that there's no equity weights. Last is success points. So this is funding received by achieving milestone points. And again, there is no equity weights. And what we mean when we're talking about equity weights is that unlike our K-12 funding system, which is just for multiple student characteristics such as student income, disability status, language proficiency, none of Texas community college funding components are designed to support or reward institutions for meeting the needs of diverse learners. So this includes academically or economically disadvantaged students who make up the growing majority of those enrolled. So the performance-based funding and overall formula is not currently sufficient to impact student outcomes or account for differing student needs and the costs to successfully meet them. Next slide. Yes, so you'll see in these two maps where I'll explain briefly taxing districts, and I won't hit on local property taxes too much because it's a little more complicated than we have time to spend on. But you'll see that there's only a scarce amount of taxpayer money to fund community college education. So 73% of students at a very large community college are within taxing districts, but only 25% of students at small colleges are within taxing districts. So this results in students being required to pay higher out of district tuition. So you want to click one more time. So in here you'll see one example of blend where they don't receive sufficient local property taxes funding. So they are depending on students to cover their costs because the state only contributes 34%. And I know there's probably not enough time to really go into Texas Community College funding and the formula, but I hope that now you have some understanding. And I'll pass it on to Esther to tell you more about the commission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What is the Texas Commission on Community College? Next slide, please. Yeah, so financed in May 2021, Senate Bill 1230 established the Texas Commission on Community College Finance to make recommendation to establish a state formula and funding levels and sufficiency of sustainable variable community college and training offering throughout the state. Next slide, please. So who are these people? These are 12 commission members who are college presidents and ambassador states, representatives, and business leaders. Their presentation extends from Texarkana to Dallas and even Houston. Next slide, please. These members meet monthly since November 2021. By November 2022, they expect to submit final recommendations for 88th registrature in January 2023. Keep in mind, commission is unfortunately not required to include a student member, but they're encouraged to reflect the state's geographic and ethnic diversity. So what is working, how is work is being done? So the commission members are split in three forces: college operations, student support, and workforce education. So in college operation includes Texas structure, how the colleges run their budget, and how the institution need to operate. Student support focuses on what support are necessary. So there is advising and tuition costs and what do students need. And on workforce, there is aligning colleges and high demand job opportunities. How can we make sure that colleges offer programs preparing students for the workforce? And next public meeting, it's on June 21st this year.
So, who do Texas community colleges serve? Who is a community college student? In fall 2021, there were over 650,000 students enrolled at Texas community colleges. Demographically, they were 46% Hispanic, 31% white, 12% African American, 5% Asian, 4% other, and 2% international. 60% were female, 40% were male, 22% attend full-time, with 78% attending part-time, but only 28% qualified for a Pell Grant. Next slide. So let's look at some specifics. Since state funding of community colleges in the last 30 years has declined from 66% to roughly 20%, this has placed more pressure on local property taxpayers and the students themselves to meet rising tuition costs. Since 2007, community college funding per full-time student has declined to 21.2%. That's $756. While K-12 state funding per student has increased 7.6%. That's $306 more. Following the 2008 recession, community college funding experienced a larger decline and did not recover to the same extent that K-12 and four-year colleges did. Students like me struggle to juggle a full course load while working to cover the cost of tuition, supporting ourselves, and sometimes our families. Cost is the #1 reason that students drop out. Perhaps unsurprisingly, with a higher portion of their funding coming from student tuition, community colleges also tend to have lower completion rates. The Texas Community College funding formula was last studied in 1973. That's nearly 50 years ago. As we can see in this graphic from Georgetown University, post-secondary education has increased in importance 2.5 times. Today, 68% of all positions in Texas will require post-secondary education. That's a pretty big jump from 28% in 1973. Students with an associate's degree are twice as likely to earn at least $50K a year, an actual self-sustaining living wage, and 49% of Texans aged 25 to 34 who obtain a bachelor's or higher earn more than $50K a year. So is our current system actually supporting students' success? I'll hand it to Daisy to investigate further.
Thanks, Vicki. So, what do you consider success? For college students, success is graduating with a degree. But sadly, our educational system does not support students in accomplishing this goal. I mean, across the state, only 26% of full-time students are graduating from public two-year colleges within 3 years, and only 16% of part-time students are graduating. These numbers suck. In the year 2020, the Higher Education Coordinating Board published a report saying, on average, students are still ending up with the unmet goal of $9,940, even after receiving financial aid. As we can see, students are not receiving the sufficient amount of help they need in order for them to successfully complete their education. This problem leads to students having to get one or even multiple jobs and having to work up to 56 hours per week. Imagine being a student and having to work long hours on top of that. How stressful. When school is impossible to pay off, students just end up giving up most of the time, not completing their education. It makes sense. I mean, if we cannot afford to buy something, what do we tend to do? We either go into debt to pay for that one thing, or we just end up not getting it at all. What tends to be the easier choice? As the percentage of community college revenue generated by tuition and fee increases, 3-year graduation rates for students decreases. Okay, I'm passing it on now to Christy.
Thank you, Daisy. So most of us know that tuition is different for in-state students versus out-of-state students, right? So we may even be aware of the tuition differences that come with living outside of the county that our school is in. But did you all know that the quality of your education and how it's funded is determined down to your zip code? Because community college students are not able to afford increased tuition, this creates difficulty with finding good paying jobs. We are not only pressured by where we live, but changes in the economy and technology are making it increasingly difficult for us to obtain our dream jobs due to lack of post-secondary education attainment. So how are we expected to upgrade our skills if affordability makes it difficult? So what does college affordability mean to you? Maybe you envision school-related expenses as solely covering the classes that you attend, but they are so much more than that. Costs for school not only include tuition, but they encompass all the things listed on this slide: books, technology fees, and all those other hidden fees, food, housing, and even childcare for parents. The things that we have discussed so far has only been 17% of the expenses that a community college student will accrue. But almost 50% of school expenses concern housing and food, while almost 30% concerns the other fees. A good number of students are on this Zoom call today, but there are over 700,000 community college students in Texas, and about 66% of us are struggling with insecurities that affect how we eat, pay bills, and even where we lay our heads at night. So can I paint a picture for you all? The Texas grant program gives $433 million to four-year institutions, while two-year college community students, such as ourselves, are only allowed at $44 million by Texas Educational Opportunity Grants. Now, I haven't been in a math class in a while, but that's about $400 million difference. Of that $44 million, less than 18% of us will receive those funds due to the funding depleting almost immediately. Go figure. Now I'll pass on the next section to Talia, who will introduce the Student Advisory Council.
Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm excited to introduce who we are and why we are here today. So next slide, please. So the cool thing is we're actually partnered with multiple nonprofits throughout the state of Texas. And so this includes Every Texan, Young Invincibles, Jolt Action, IDRA, Breakthrough Central Texas, the Education Trust, and Deeds Not Words. And they'll be supporting the council throughout this whole year as we advise the commission. Next slide. So the Student Advisory Council is comprised of 12 community college students and recent alumni. And this is all across the state of Texas. So anywhere from El Paso to North Texas and Dallas. And we'll be convening together, gaining feedback from each area, hearing from, what students in different regions are experiencing, and then coming together to list out feedback and recommendations that we can deliver directly to these commission members. And so for us, that kind of includes a lot of storytelling, policy analysis, media training, legislative training, and advocacy, so that we can make these recommendations. And these are the faces. So the 2022 Student Advisory Council, these are the students who will be representing you and giving recommendations to the commission. So if you see any of these faces at the Youth Power Hour, make sure to come and say hello. And then I just want to reiterate some of the goals that we have for this year. So first and foremost, students come first. And so we really want to be able to amplify the student voice. And we're going to be doing this through storytelling. But we also want to back that storytelling up with qualitative and quantitative research. And so we could kind of pair those two and bring it forward. With this information, we will be working together to design solutions, and we'll be doing this with different organizations, policymakers, and even education leaders who work in your community colleges, and providing feedback on any policy proposals that come back up. And then our fourth goal is to engage students and get students involved with higher education policy. So that's kind of why we're here today, speaking to you all to inform you of finances and policy that directly affects you and students across the state of Texas, and get you involved and get you, aware of the opportunity that's out there and the advocacy nonprofits that are here to support you and help advocate for you all. Thank you. And I'll pass it on to Esther.
Thank you. So speaking of student participation and engagement, student voice, we have a couple of questions for our lovely council members today. They're going to share their answers and their experiences for us to understand more. So first question. Why did you join Student Advisory Council? And I'm gonna ask Talia first.
Yeah, so when I found this opportunity, it was like the day before, and I was kind of like, oh, should I apply? It's super last minute, but when I'm reading through it, it really caught my eye because it was for community college students, but also for recent alumni, and I'm graduating in May. I've done a lot of work nationally and then like very, very local. So I've got to work with I sat on our board of trustees, and I got to work with student trustees across the nation. I got to do a lot of local stuff, but I really wanted to get that insight of Texas legislation and policy and how that affects like our each local communities and how that kind of looks like and ties into the national scale. But also, I felt like the structure and the time commitment was really appropriate for our lifestyle as students. And I felt like I would still be able to work on my schoolwork, but also advocate for students. And then we're also being financially compensated, which is kind of like what we're all here. You know, we want to be compensated. We want to be able to do our schoolwork and then also do stuff like this. And so I really just wanted to continue amplifying student voices. That's my main thing, but also it's really cool that this council made it possible for me to continue doing that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. What about you, Daisy? Why did you join Student Advisory Council?
So same thing as her. I was looking through my email and it was just like 2 or 3 days left, like to submit your application. And I was like, I had never heard about it. And so I looked into it a little bit and I was like, oh wow, like, so I loved what they represent and how they, involve students. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it out. And here I am. And I really like that it's an opportunity for me to, put my voice out there and like share my story, like so that way people similar to me can see that it is possible, and that and make more opportunities for them because I have personally, seen the struggles, that it takes to get to school. And it's like we want people to go to school. So we have to make, I want to advocate to make it easier for them to do it because a lot of people don't go because they see it so like difficult to obtain.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, actually. So what about you, Christy? Why did you join Student Advisory Council?
So for me, I know I told you guys that I wanted to be a director of minority health and health equity. And I think a lot of people don't realize that your health can be impacted by your level of education. So I kind of wanted to be able to help students like myself be able to address that inequity that, a lot of us experience. And then I was also able to interview a director who told us that no one knows what the people need more than the people in the community. And so since we are a community of college, 2-year college students, no one understands what we need more than ourselves.
Yes, preach. Yes, that's true, actually. Thank you so much for sharing. And what about you, Vicky?
So I know I look very youthful, but I'm actually 41 years old. I came back to college at 40 after being in the workforce for a very long time. You cannot survive on minimum wage. You cannot survive on the kind of jobs you can get with no education, not in support anything else, not in have any kind of life. And so I personally believe that community college is an investment in Texans, all of us. And rising tide raises all the ships. They should be raising us. We should have free community college. Now, we might not be there yet, but I want to see that as many students get the resources they need to succeed as possible.
Yes. Thank you. I'm like really excited when I'm hearing the answers. Thank you so much. So myself, I joined the Student Advisory Council because I wanted to advocate for others. I am immigrant. I'm not from United States. I'm from Rwanda. So when I see something that can help me, because it's really hard for international students to go through college and school and be able to make through. So I saw this opportunity for advocating for my like my sisters and brothers and everybody who's coming after me, for them to come to be able to go to community college and be able to go to school and finish and graduate. So I was really I had this activism spirit to like really try this and see if it can help me to advocate for others. Thank you. So next question, please. Yeah, what does college of affordability mean to you? And we're gonna start with Talia. What college affordability mean to you?
Yeah, so college affordability, to me, that means having those extra class resources provided for you. I think that's just such a basic necessity. your textbooks and your spiral notebooks, pens, pencils, study material like flashcards. I think that should go along with the classes that you're taking. But also, creating more sustainable methods in feeding our students, and being able to provide like safe and brave spaces, so that students can like afford to be clear-minded when they come to class.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. What about you, Vicky?
So, when we talk about affordability, a lot of times we just think in terms of money because it's easy to quantify, but there are other things that college costs you. You have to be able to afford the time to spend on your studies to get good grades. You have to be able to afford the energy, which this isn't easy. It's a lot of work to do college, especially if you have other responsibilities. You need to be able to afford that attention because, focusing on college impacts all the resources you have for the rest of your life. And students would have so much better outcomes if we didn't have to like spend all of our energy just trying to pay for school. If we could instead, the money that we're having to work and that we're having to generate can go to support us in other ways. So, because again, it affects all Texans.
Yes, thank you so much. And next question, please. So the next question says, what hidden costs do you experience or witness as community college student? And we're gonna hear from one student, Christy. Can you tell us what hidden costs have you experienced, witnessed as a community college student?
Yeah. One thing that's been recent for me, because I just recently got a vehicle, is the cost for transportation and parking. I just recently looked up the permit for school for next semester, and it ranges between $300 to $800. So, I don't know how I'm going to come up with that money, but I'm going to find a way. And then not only that, for students who don't have a car, because I was also a part of public transportation, that's also expensive. Here in Dallas, I don't know how many of you are in Dallas, but our local transportation system costs $6 a day, to ride. So, if you're going to school 5 days a week, that's $30 a week. So, it's kind of hard to come up with that money, especially when you're a struggling college student.
Yes, that's a lot of money actually, even if you're not a college student, that's a lot of money. So yes, thank you so much. So next question, please. What are key barriers community college students are facing right now? And I'm gonna hear from Daisy.
Yes. So students are having to find a way to balance their time while having a lot on their plate. From living through a pandemic to probably having multiple jobs, we all have our own struggles, but school should not be one of those.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. Thank you so much. And we're gonna hear from Talia.
Yeah, so I think one really big barrier that we're facing kind of across the nation, but definitely in Texas, is having safe/brave spaces for students, minority students, or particularly marginalized students. So students of color, LGBTQ students, neurodivergent students, DACA students. And, I use safe space lightly because really when you come to a community college, it should be the whole college that's safe. But sometimes we fail to kind of consider the fact that students could be coming in with past trauma or have been in environments where maybe that was not the case at all and they had a completely terrible experience. And so they could be a little bit closed off or unable to trust environments as easily. And so if they're coming into a space and they could see maybe a multicultural center or something of that nature, where they know they could go there and kind of find students like them, or find resources that are meant for them, or be in spaces where there's discussion surrounding things that affect them, then I think that really breaks down that barrier, because this is something that affects every aspect of their life and it affects their success. And when we create spaces like that, then it really helps students succeed in community college.
Thank you so much. And the next question, please. It's gonna be, how does financial aid help you as a student? Aside from financial aid, what does financial support also look like? So me, myself, as I said, like above, I'm a migrant student, I'm international student. So financial aid doesn't help me at all. Like it does not help me. So I don't apply for financial aid, and I don't get any other financial support, because like like a lot of scholarships and all those helps, they say you gotta be like a citizen, or you gotta be these criteria that I don't have. So I pay like for my school out of pocket everything. So it's hard. Yeah. And we're gonna hear next from Daisy.
Okay, so financial aid helps give student peace of mind, and it helps us feel more secure, you know? This leads to them focusing more on school and succeeding in their careers. Like currently me, I just found out this next semester I'm not gonna be covered no more financial aid. And it has, like, it turned everything upside down, all my plans and everything. And now I have to like work around that. So I'm experiencing this right now firsthand, and it's stressful and it does distract you from things. So I understand this. And additional resources can be also them providing basic necessities, resources like food, shelter, transportation, and childcare.
Yeah, thank you so much. And next question, please. Yeah, why is it important for students to be part of discussions on the future of community college finance? What unique information do students bring? And Daisy, can you start?
Yes. So the student voice gives the most accurate information on current problems regarding community college funding, because we're living it. We're living it here and now, Our opinions should have a lot of weight, and they really should be considered, because just how like Chrissy has said, like, who better to talk about the community than the community? Like, we're the ones, here and now.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, true. What about you, Vicky?
So I 100% agree. We're the ones living this. They need our firsthand experiences. Like Esther's an international student. I could read about that. I could look into it, and I could maybe make guesses, but they would just be guesses because I don't know what Esther's experience is. I don't know what it's like to be an international student. So while the people that are on the commission are amazing, they have such great histories, and they know so much, they're not here. They're not necessarily experiencing this as we are. And I know that in the 15 to 17 years, that was a gap between when I last went to school and now, things have changed. Things have changed so much. And most of these people haven't been in school in a while. So it can be difficult to necessarily like guess. And it's always better if we can give them the tools they need to help us, because I'd rather help myself, y'all. I don't know about you guys.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. And the last question is going to be, what is one thing about your own experience you hope to share with commission members? And we're going to start with Christy.
I think about my own experience is it kind of took me a while to really figure out what things were kind of like a hindrance to me. Because when bad things happen, you naturally want to gravitate to it's your fault, right? So I think it took a lot of soul searching and me being able to join kind of communities like we're in now to be able to discover, like, Christy, maybe it's not your fault. Maybe there are things that you can do to help you kind of get out of that situation. And I am very grateful to be in this organization because I am able to hear other people's story. And then, you can take those stories and share them with other people, and maybe they'll be able to help other people. So it's like a ripple effect, but a good ripple.
Yeah, thank you. What about you, Talia?
Yeah, I think one thing I would want to share is like how difficult it could sometimes be to like handle working, getting good grades and going to school, and then on top of that, like trying to get all these other extra experiences to be layered on top of that, so that when you leave, like you're set, or you have a job set up, or you have an internship, or you're seeking out those experiences. And for many students, sometimes they don't get to do all three of those things. I was lucky that I could work part-time because I'm living at home with my parents. And so I think that's something that not everyone always considers, is like those extra things that are outside of the classroom. But it seems to be like when you're searching for a job, it's just as important as that degree.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, that's true. Yeah, what about you, Vicky?
Well, I just really feel sometimes like I'm stuck in the middle between a student and between being, a successful person because of my age. So I kind of feel like I bridge the gap a little bit because I'm in school, but I've also been out of school. And I just want to bring that experience to that and also amplify the voices of other students that I meet, that I hear, so that we can be represented as a group. And I think that takes all of us chipping in and pulling each other up and giving each other space. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Thank you so much. Yes. And what about you, Daisy?
So from my experience, I'm a first college student in my family, and not just my immediate family, but like all the way back, no one has actually really gone to college. And my culture, they see it a lot like they're kind of against it, because of the negative um way they see it. They see it like all they do is take your money, all they do is that, and you're not going to be working, so where's going to be the income? They don't see it really in the long picture. And when I first started going to school, and when they found out, oh, like I'm gonna get financial aid, so they're gonna help me, like, so I don't need money, my parents accepted it then. And now when they found out, oh, I don't have financial aid no more, and they hear that, oh, I'm gonna have to find a way to pay it, like it went back to that, like now I lost their support. They're like, you see, we told you this is gonna happen, and it's kind of like I it makes it hard, because I'm trying to convince them to let I want my sister to go to school, like she's in high school right now. And I want my cousins to go to school, and I want everyone, all my friends and family. And right now, like with what's going on, it's like I'm seeing like, oh dang, like this is not helping me prove my point to them.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Thank you so much. And for me, I think I'm gonna bring the perspective, of like international student, because we are trying to help ourselves financially. We're not getting financial aid, and we're still learning English. We're still learning culture. We're still learning what's going on in this country. So it's really hard because to get like scholarships on all that help and everything, you gotta be like higher, like to be excellent. And you're not gonna be that if you're still like learning like classes, but you're learning English, you're learning what's going on in this country, you're learning everything. So I'm bringing that kind of experience. Yeah, well, thank you so much for the answers. This was really helpful. We are hearing from panel that college affordability looks reduced financial stress both during college and after college. I agree. I agree. To me, affordability of college is really hard. Now, it's like time is really going too fast, but we want to hear from you guys. What questions do you have, folks, for us?
Awesome. So I thank you so much for leading us through that panel Q&A, Esther, greatly appreciated. I see we have two questions to address. The first one is, how do we view, testify, or register our opinions at the next Community College Commission meeting? And I'm going to address that question to Christy.
All right, great question, actually. Thank you for asking. So we actually have a survey at the end that'll provide information for you to connect with future testimony opportunities. And as Esther mentioned, that the next commission meeting will be June 1st. I'm sorry, June 21st.
Perfect, thank you. And the next question as well, so we get y'all out of here on time. Cole mentioned that Vicki shared some really impressive data on Texas Community College's makeup. Are those data points available online or in writing? I'm going to direct that one to Vicki.
Yes, definitely. We got them from the Ed Trust and also from the 2020 Texas Community College. It's like this long name, y'all, but it's their means and uses thing. I lost my resource. I'm sorry. Yes, they're from the ED Trust and the 2020 Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board Sources and Uses Report.
Awesome, thank you guys. We're gonna go ahead and move on, wrap up this session. We really wanna thank y'all for coming and joining us for the Finance Community College session. So what's next? How do you stay connected and what do we do after here? So the first thing is, we do have a survey for you to stay connected with us so you can follow up on any opportunities we may have to plug you in for storytelling and or testimony. I'm going to drop that link in the chat right now. It is a Google form, a couple of questions, just 2 sections, really simple and really easy. And Chris Fernandez also dropped the, I believe it's the higher ed details and uses 2020 report. It is a very complicated name. Next, we do have upcoming commission recap events and other events as well. So to complete that survey, whenever they come up, we will connect you. Make sure you follow our hashtags, yes, because we are social media savvy. We have hashtag Fun Texas Talent because community college students are the future talent of Texas. And then also the hashtag Community College Voices. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter so you can hear different stories as we uplift the various experiences that community college students have. We also have an opportunity for you to share your own community college story. So if you have any experience with, college affordability, dual credit, navigating the college process, if you're first gen, if you're low income, et cetera, right? Because today's students look different. You can share your community college story with us. I'm going to also drop the link to that storytelling page in the chat. Stories can be pictures, it could be, so you can accompany a picture with your story. You just type out 2 paragraphs, or you can do a video as well. We welcome all types of mediums as well. And then finally, we have our upcoming commission meeting, which is the Texas Commission, the main one, not us, on June 21st. So definitely look out for that if you're looking to attend. And thank you guys for joining. We now have like a little intermission break to get lunch. And then after that, we will jump into our apprenticeship and work-based learning session.